Eastern, A More Perfect Union promises to deliver national news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. As KBLA Talk 1580's chief national political analyst, every day you can expect your daily dose of political news of consequence. If you're looking to be in
The House passed legislation today to keep federal funding flowing into early 2024. Now, this is after Democrats stepped in to rescue a plan opposed by many Republicans to avert a government shutdown at the end of the week. A coalition of Democrats and mainstream Republicans overcame the opposition of GOP conservatives to approve the bill under special expedited procedures that required a supermajority. More than 400 political appointees and staff members representing some 40 government agencies sent a letter to President Biden today protesting his support of Israel in its war in Gaza. The letter, part of growing internal dissent over the administration's support of the war, calls on the president to seek an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and to push Israel to allow humanitarian aid into the territory. Jewish organizations in the U.S. were planning a large demonstration today on the National Mall in D.C., with tens of thousands expected to gather in a show of solidarity with Israel as it wages war in Gaza in response to the October 7th attack by Hamas. Educators, artists, students, and relatives of some of the hundreds of hostages seized by Hamas were scheduled to appear. And this is along with U.S. lawmakers, including Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said today that only one hospital in the northern half of the blockade Gaza Strip still had electricity and was able to receive patients, with other medical facilities in Gaza City now mostly functioning as shelters for those fleeing the violence. A former attorney for Donald Trump has told Georgia prosecutors that a top presidential aide said to her in December of 2020 that the boss, i.e. Donald Trump, did not plan to leave the White House under any circumstances. Jenna Ellis, a one-time Trump lawyer who pled guilty to lesser charges in exchange for her testimony in the Fulton County, Georgia RICO case, told prosecutors that Dan Scavino, Trump's deputy chief of staff at the time, was unfazed by her view that the president was running out of options to challenge Joe Biden's victory. Several Republican lawmakers plan to fight the recently approved abortion rights amendment by trying to overthrow the judicial branch's authority to interpret it. And this is with respect to the initiative passed in Ohio. More than 24 House Republicans in Ohio promised to push back against issue 1. 4 of those lawmakers issued a press release stating, to prevent mischief by pro-abortion courts with issue 1, Ohio legislators will consider removing jurisdiction from the judiciary over this ambiguous ballot initiative. This is what the news release said, and it was entitled, Deceptive Ohio Issue 1 Misled the Public but Doesn't Repeal Our Laws. You're listening to Areva Martin in Real Time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. This is hour 2 of Areva Martin in Real Time, and this is the hour where we go deep and we dig behind the headlines, and we bring you those stories that people are talking about. And today we're talking about Black babies and some statistics about deaths and unsafe sleeping environments that are causing Black babies to experience an unusually high mortality rate. What we know is that Black babies born in the United States with the lowest Black infant mortality rate, those with the best chance at reaching their first birthday, often die at a higher rate than white babies born in the U.S., and that's because several issues are cited, including certain habits and certain patterns that are observed when it comes to how Black families often sleep with their babies. These numbers in terms of the number of babies who are dying are dire, but there are changes. There are things that can be done to protect Black babies, to protect Black families, and to ensure that Black babies are given every opportunity to grow and to thrive. In this hour, we're going to be talking to some experts who are very familiar with this issue, who are going to break down some of the reasons that we see these high mortality rates with Black babies. They're also going to talk to us about what families can do to ensure that they are providing the safest environment for their babies, because we want our babies to grow up. We want them to thrive. We want them to have every possible opportunity to be well and to be healthy. So stay with us. We're going to come back with these experts, and they're going to help us understand what's happening with Black babies. KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Areva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Areva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head. Yeah.
We boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Mortality rates and how we keep Black babies safe. Joining me in the first half of this hour is Nychelle Fleming. She's a communications specialist at the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. And Pam Ricker Springs, she's the director of the Office of Communications, U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. Thank you so much, Pam, and thank you so much, Nychelle, for joining and helping shed light on this really, really important issue. I want to start with just if Pam, you could just provide for us what the stats are around Black infant mortality rates, and particularly as it relates to sleep patterns and unsafe products.
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, Areva, I'm a big fan of your work. I've been watching you for quite some time now. So I am truly honored to be in your presence and to share this important information. What we know is that too many Black babies are dying from preventable behaviors, from preventable items and activities. Nikki has certainly been working on this issue for at least a decade. I'm fairly new to the agency, but what I do know is that there are just too many Black babies dying. I've been talking with experts from the American Academy of Pediatrics, from pediatricians around the country, and the general feeling is that many of these babies could be saved if their parents would observe, some of the, practices that we at the Consumer Product Safety Commission encourage parents to do. And these are things that, may not occur to us, as I'm an old Black person. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm a grandmother of 2. I've got great grandnieces, great grandnephews, and some of the practices that I thought showed love to my granddaughter, filling her crib with blankets and toys, were the absolute opposite of what needs to happen. And certainly Nikki can speak to that. She is our expert on that issue.
Well, thank you, first of all, Pam, for those kind words, and thank you for joining us. These are stories that resonate with me. I'm a Black mother. 3 kids, and obviously this issue is one that's important to me. And like you, I'm sure I did so many things wrong when my kids were infants, which is why these kinds of conversations are so important to our community. So I will ask you, Nikki, if you could just tell us, what are some of the common reasons that we're seeing Black babies, die? And are there disparities, are there racial disparities with respect to these mortality rates?
Yes, and thanks for having me too. I'm excited to be here as well. And I'm also a mother of 3. And I just became a grandmother, actually, first-time grandmother, literally a couple of weeks ago. But it's so important. I think the most important thing is to remember is that what may look safe for us as adults, and I know I'm guilty of this. My husband teases me for having 5,000 pillows and blankets in my sleep space, but I'm an adult. So developmentally, that's fine for me, but it's not okay for young babies. And I know we tend to get our advice. I know I did when I was a young mom from our moms, our aunties and grandmas. But the information has changed, science has changed, and the guidance has changed. So what's so important is making sure that you're starting with a safe sleep environment and placing your baby on their back to sleep. The Back to Sleep campaign has been around more than 30 years. I've actually been at the commission 32 years. So always placing your baby to sleep on the back. And this is in accordance with the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations. It's the safest space and way to place your baby. But where you place your baby is where CPSC comes into play, because we're the Consumer Product Safety Commission. So when it comes to the products, starting with that safe sleep space, a product intended for sleep. So a crib, a bassinet, a play yard, with the fitted sheet only. And bare is best. Nothing else in that sleep space is needed. Literally, baby on their back, fitted sheet only, and go back to basics. Crib.
Okay,
bassinet,
so Nikki, all of us that put pillows around the baby and toys in the crib, so none of that is recommended by the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
No, cozy, your baby doesn't have to be cozy with all the clutter. So again, nothing else is needed in the baby's sleep space. In fact, about 100 deaths are due to unsafe sleep spaces where additional and extra padding and bedding has been added to that sleep space. So pillows, blankets, comforters are the reason for those 100 deaths out of the nursery product related deaths report, our most recent data, and about 15 deaths in incline products. So firm, flat surface, again, in accordance with the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations, always on your back to reduce not only suffocation, but also SIDS, sudden infant death. So always placing your baby on their back in that sleep space and in a product that's actually intended for sleep. I know my children also used to fall asleep in products that were not intended for sleep, such as your swings and other products. We actually tried to use the swing back then, almost 30 years ago, to try to put the baby to sleep. But you should remove your baby if they fall asleep in any other location. You should remove them and place them into that safe sleep space, that crib, that bassinet, or play yard.
So, Pam, we've got to come clean. All these practices that many of my listeners and viewers, and I know I'm guilty of. We're home as a new mother and you're nursing and you're sleep deprived and you get the baby out of the crib and you're going to nurse with that baby on your and sleep, and the baby falls in a bed environment where there are pillows and top sheets and comforters. What does the Consumer Product Safety Commission say about that practice, Pam, which I know is common for a lot of new mothers?
You know, one of the things that I feel like it's a real privilege to see are some of the overnight death reports that come into us from hospital emergency rooms around the country. And I have seen some truly heartbreaking incidents reported where, just as you say, a mother is nursing, a mother is tired. I'm just going to have the baby beside me. And, you know, if it falls asleep, that's fine. I've got it. I've got the baby and it's going to be safe. And, you know, sadly, the next morning, you know, a parent has rolled over on a baby has rolled into a pillow, right? And, what happens is a baby is not strong enough to correct if their breathing is obstructed. So, you know, you're doing what you think is right. Right? You want to love your baby. And I think what Nikki and I are trying to do with talking with people like you and other folks around the country is to let them know that, less clutter doesn't mean less love. And just because if your baby falls asleep, put it back in the crib. That's the best thing you can do to love your baby. I don't appreciate, the nursing. I'm a stepmom, and so these are my stepkids. But I certainly have seen my stepdaughter and my nieces and nephews go through this, and I warn them all. If the baby falls asleep, set your timer, set your Apple Watch for 10 minutes. Wake up, put the baby back in the crib. That's the best thing you can do.
No, it's really incredibly important and good advice. So Nikki, talk about these disparities. Do we see Black babies dying at higher rates because Black mothers are not following some of these basic protocols? What's causing there to be disparities?
Yeah, our most latest data is we've seen about 160 nursery product related deaths annually associated with nursery products, and about 29% were associated with African American children. So we know there's a disparity there because we represent only about 16% of the population, and we have about nearly 30% of the deaths reported. So what we want to make sure is that all parents know how to create that safe sleep space for baby. And again, starting with that product that's intended for sleep and simply using that fitted sheet only and not adding any additional bedding to that sleep space is so important. And it's important to not only tell parents that, but I was going to say grandparents and the aunties and the other family members, because you got a lot of help sometimes. And even with partners and the whole idea of rolling over in an adult bed or something. Even we've had fathers accidentally fall asleep on sofas and lounge chairs, watching, something and falling asleep as well. So this applies to everyone in the family, everyone responsible for that little life. Babies rely on us to create that safe space. So it's all of our jobs.
I'm thinking of these very popular pictures on Instagram where you have a Black dad who's in a chair reclining or on a sofa, and there's an infant on his chest, right? And that infant is asleep, the dad is asleep, and that picture is like wildly popular because it's like that dad is bonding with the baby and, oh, we love it, we like it, we share it. And you're saying that's a no-no. That dad, once he falls asleep, there should be a clock or something that wakes him up, takes that baby off his chest, because I'm thinking, yes, that baby could roll off the chest onto the floor, onto the, the sofa, get caught in between the cushions. There's so many things that can happen. But do you think there's something culturally, Pam, that's happening in our community around that? Because that is an image that I see a lot that's applauded.
And, I applauded it as well before I came to the agency, to be honest. But, again, and I think it's important that we not blame the parents. This is an education campaign. As Nikki said, some of these campaigns have been around for decades. I think what's been missing, and a lot of them, not all of them, but what's been missing is the really targeted approach in the community that needs to hear it. Right. And so that's what we're here to do. I spoke with a doctor, a pediatrician in Cook County, Chicago, several months ago, actually. And he let me know that I believe 80% of the SIDS deaths in his locality were African American mothers. 80% of SIDS death, African American mothers. So it's not the babies, it's the education.
Let me ask you something, Pam. Is SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, is that different than what we're talking about? Like if a baby rolls over and suffocates because they roll into a pillow, is that a different type? Is that characterized differently when that baby presents at an emergency room or at a hospital?
Nikki's going to correct me, but I think it really depends on how the medical examiner, how the death is presented in the medical information in the emergency room. There may be some, deaths from suffocation that may be characterized as SIDS and vice versa. I think the bottom line is we don't know, but what we can do is we can do our best to protect our babies in the way that we know how, and that's educating parents on the best way to put their babies to sleep, on how not to crowd cribs, on how to put babies to sleep in, products that are intended. So education is what we're here to do, and to not blame parents, and to educate, as Nikki said, the grannies like me, the aunties like others, and really to reinforce that. There is I don't have to tell you, there is a bit of skepticism when it comes to government, information and advice given to certain communities. And what we're here to do is we're here to say, this is the right thing to do. This is what the science is telling us. And so we really need to, reinforce that and educate.
So how is this information, Nikki, getting disseminated? Because, I'm trying to think back, when you leave a hospital with a newborn, is there information provided to that parent at that time? Because I don't recall in my own case, and I don't know now, if a new mother goes to a hospital, suppose they give birth in one of these birthing centers or all the alternative locations where we know some parents are using to give birth. How will they get this information? Like something as basic as put the baby on the back on a hard surface. Don't sleep with the baby on your chest. Don't sleep with the baby next to you in an adult-sized bed. Don't let the baby sleep in the car seat. All these, safety rules and safety protocols that parents should be following. How do they get that information?
Yeah, it's so important. Well, one thing, you can come to us, so cpsc.gov/safe sleep. But what you said about hospitals, and we do work to get our information directly into the hands of hospital staff. And in fact, we're actually presently being shown on WebMD in hundreds of hospitals nationwide with our safety videos as well, to give you the tips that you need to keep your baby safe. And know that the products that we're recommending, the crib, the bassinet, and play yard, they have to meet our federal standards. So that's the other important tip here when you're choosing products, again, intended for sleep. There is that standard behind it. So it can't be sold in the United States unless it meets our federal regulations. These products have been around for decades, and some of the regulations are actually that old as well. So there's so many new products. I know with my daughter having a recent shower, she's receiving products from left and right, and you're just unsure. Go back to basics. Crib, bassinet, play yard, and products like you see loungers and rockers and other products that are not intended for sleep. Make sure you're using them in that way, not for sleep, but again, placing the baby and transferring the baby to that safe sleep space.
Yeah,
and Areva, if I could.
Go ahead, jump in.
No. I was just gonna say, and it's the good news is that it's not just Nikki and me and the CPSC that's giving that information. NIH has great information to share. The White House has a great initiative that's grassroots using the congregations of the Kojic Church of God in Christ. So the White House is doing it. We're doing it. There are lots of folks out there with lots of information, and we're just hoping that folks will socialize it as well.
Yeah, and just real quickly, if all of these products, I assume, Nikki, have some indication that they have been approved by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. So obviously, parents should be looking for that stamp of approval before they utilize any product with respect to a newborn.
Yeah, some of that marketing information may vary. So one thing we do want consumers to check is for recalls as well, because you can't always look at a product and know whether it has been recalled. So CPSC actually recalls hundreds of products every year. So not just baby products, but products used in and around your home. We have jurisdiction of all consumer products in the home. So anything from your furniture to your appliances to your electronics in your home, they're all under our jurisdiction. So we want consumers to know about these recalls so they can take advantage of the remedies, the repairs, the replacements, and the refunds available. And sometimes people just don't hear about that. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure everyone knows how to sign up to get direct notification directly from us at cpsc.gov. And you can also download our recall app there as well.
Well, thank you so much, Nychelle. Thank you so much, Pam. Great information. Congratulations on this campaign. So much needed information. And hopefully it will get into the hands of those new mothers and fathers and family members that need it the most. When we come forward, more on how to keep your baby safe and what two parents decided to do to help other parents. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
There's a new sheriff in town.
All right, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and starting September 18th, I couldn't be more thrilled than invite you to join us for the launch of A More Perfect Union, weekdays right here on KBLA Talk 1580, weekdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific Time, that's 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. A More Perfect Union promises to deliver national news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. As KBLA Talk 1580's chief national political analyst, every day you can expect your daily dose of political news of consequence. If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered to be a part of the solution to issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, A More Perfect Union was designed for you. This daily political affairs show will feature notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and ordinary people motivated to do their part to reach beyond today's divisions, to make sense out of news of the day, and offer us all a chance to build a more perfect union. Come on and join me.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Areva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Areva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your ear.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your ear.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader. If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shop.
We are back, and in this hour, we're talking about Black babies. We're talking about baby safety, and we're talking about what mothers are provided in terms of information about how to even keep their babies safe, particularly when they're leaving a hospital or a birthing center. And in this half of the show, I'm happy to have with us Sarah Steinhardt and Juliet Fuisz. They are the co-founders of Welcome Baby USA. And let's talk about Juliet, what you and Sarah are doing to help keep babies safe. First of all, I want to just congratulate you on starting this organization. So needed. And I'd love to hear about what you guys are doing currently in this space.
Sure. So Welcome Baby is a nonprofit that we founded back at the beginning of 2019. And we have a very simple but very critical mission, and that is to provide low-income families with one package that contains everything a newborn needs in the first month of life. What are these items? They're very, very basic, but they're incredibly important for the health and safety and development of babies. 200 diapers in size newborn and size 1, wipes, bottles, rash creams, a baby carrier, a thermometer, basic clothing, swaddle blankets. These are items that absolutely no baby should ever go without, and that we feel very passionately that no family, and particularly no mother who's recovering from delivery and working on the transition into motherhood should struggle to afford and struggle to provide. And when you consider that these items purchased, at a local pharmacy in small quantities can add up to almost $500 just to get you through the first month of life. We feel that every family should have these items within arm's reach when they have a newborn in their home.
So, Sarah, what inspired you and Juliet to start in 2019 Welcome Baby?
So I had just had my first child. This is a little bit before 2019. And, having your first baby kind of, rocks your world. And I remember it was the middle of winter and I ran out, he was 2 weeks old. I was 2 weeks postpartum and really having a hard time. And a lot of anxiety. And I ran out to get diapers and I stopped on the corner and I started crying. And I kept thinking to myself that this feels so hard to me. And I am so lucky because I can go to the pharmacy and I can spend what I need, on diapers and anything else that's needed. And I have the resources and I have the support. How are so many families, so many women all over the country doing this with, no stable income, no stable housing, maybe no familial support? And that's really kind of how it started. At the same time, I had come across some press about a government program in Finland in which every family giving birth to a baby goes home with a baby box, and it has everything a newborn needs for that, those first weeks and months of life. And we thought, why can't we do that here? There's such a need for support for families, who are struggling. This could be a cheap and simple solution to one part of a much bigger problem. And that's how we started. We started from our living room floors, back in 2018. And, now we work with a distributor based out of Florida, and we can, we've shipped 5,000 packages all over the country.
So I know you heard, Sarah, some of the conversation I was having with the representatives from the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. One of the questions was, how do parents even get information about how to make sure a baby is sleeping safely, how to place a baby onto a hard surface, or why it's important to place a baby on his or her back on a hard surface. And I know you all have a program, you said, in New York, where you are providing some of that information to parents. Tell us about that program.
So thanks for asking. So we're really, really proud of this, and it's very new, and it's really localized to our partner hospital, one of our partner organizations, Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx. Last year, we'd been partnering with them for a couple of years, sending them welcome baby boxes for their mother baby clinic every month. And in working with one of the pediatricians there, Dr. Elizabeth Worley, we started batting around the idea of developing an anticipatory guidance program in which any family, any new mother and new baby taking home a welcome baby package would also be given, 10, sort of like a 20-minute rundown on keeping your baby safe. All of the things that go into, how to safely feed your baby, how they should sleep, how much clothing they should wear, depending on, the temperature, umbilical cord care, what to do if a baby has a fever, and things like bathing. These are things that, I know that when I left the hospital, no one really talked to me about it. Thankfully I had people around me who educated me, but I don't know. I mean, would I have had to have read an entire book? Maybe I would have figured it out. Maybe I wouldn't have. So we're really, really proud of this, and it's been really successful. And we continue to run it, and we're hoping to expand. We're creating sort of a pamphlet that can be distributed more widely, and our goal is to duplicate this program at other partner organizations.
Wow, that's incredible. What has the response been, Juliet, when you send out these boxes? How does a parent know? Let me start a couple questions. One, how do you identify who's going to get a baby box? And then two, what has the response been from those parents that have been lucky enough to receive one?
Sure, that's a great question. So Welcome Baby is an organization. We don't give packages out directly to individuals. we partner with hospitals, healthcare facilities, health clinics across the country, typically that cater to low-income populations, and we rely on the social workers at these institutions to distribute the packages to our patients in need. So in terms of feedback that we get, it's really overwhelming. The number one feedback we get from our partner organizations is, can we get more packages? The need is so great. We have so many families who need them. Can you provide us with more? And we are told consistently that new mothers or expecting mothers cry when they receive the package, that the relief is so great to know that these items are things that they have that they won't have to struggle to afford. We get feedback that being given these items allows families to not have to make difficult decisions like paying a utility bill or buying more diapers for their baby, or things, really heartbreaking scenarios like feeding the other children in the house versus buying rash creams for their newborn. So these are making a real impact in terms of just health and wellness for babies, but also reducing stress for parents and also improving outcomes in these scenarios for entire families, other children included. When these needs are met, parents and new moms are able to focus on their baby's health, their own postpartum recovery, and caring for the family as a whole. And we think that that's really powerful.
So if an organization wants to partner with you, how are they able to do that, Sarah?
So, we get inquiries from organizations. They're trying to respond to all of them. The only thing holding us back is funding. So we are hustling as fast as we can to increase our fundraising so that we can serve more folks all over the country. But you can reach us through our website, info@welcomebabyusa.org. And we'd love to start the dialogue. But, right now, that's the only obstacle. We're in the middle of a matching campaign for November ahead of Giving Tuesday. And so we're really optimistic that sort of the success of that campaign will allow us to expand.
Yeah, when we come forward, I want to talk about what that expansion looks like for your organization, and what are some of the biggest obstacles that you have personally encountered that parents are talking about? Like, what is, in addition to what you're doing now, what else do new mothers need to ensure the safety of their babies? Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way Black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Areva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Areva Martin in real time when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and this whole hour has really been about keeping children, babies safe. How do we provide more support for new mothers? How do we make sure that babies are not put in difficult situations or situations that can literally lead to their deaths? And we talked in the first half of the show about high infant mortality rates for children, particularly children of color, because of certain unsafe sleeping practices. And in this segment, we've been talking about two mothers who saw a need, who realized that parents, particularly those parents in low-income communities, often needed assistance. Sarah, so again, congratulations on seeing a need and jumping in to provide a solution for that need. I know you guys are fairly new, but what's your vision? What are you hearing most from parents about what their immediate needs are?
So our vision is pretty expansive. Right now, there are no state or federal subsidies that cover anything in a welcome baby package, or really any of the basic needs of newborns. We see that as unacceptable. These are necessities. They're not luxuries. They're just sort of the basic requirements that any newborn, needs when they come home from the hospital. So in our, long-term plan, we hope to get to a point where any family that needs a welcome baby package or its equivalent will have access to it free of charge. There's an opportunity here for the Department of Health and Human Services to jump in and make a really sort of tangible impact. And the nice thing is that when done correctly, this is it is a cheap and simple solution to one part of a much bigger problem. But I think that having these tangible solutions, if you can kind of start stacking those up, they end up making a huge impact later on. That's our vision.
So can you explain for us, Juliet, what are some of those things from a policy standpoint? Because you're talking about policy changes, right, Sarah? You're talking about policy changes both at the federal level and the state level. If you had a magic wand, Juliet, you were able to, to wave that wand, what would be the first one or two policy changes you'd like to see that would provide more support for newborn babies?
Sure. Well, I think back to when I came home from the hospital with my first child. It was a really difficult moment in my life. My father was very sick. He passed away when she was 6 months old. And sort of being on the front lines of life's beginning and end simultaneously was incredibly difficult for me. And just personally, I remember in some of the most challenging moments that I faced during that time in my life, the thing that I felt really grateful for was that I had a paid maternity leave. And that because of that money coming in, even though I wasn't actually working at that moment, I knew that I was able to provide the things that I needed for my baby to be healthy, to grow well, to be safe, And that allowed me a sense of grace in terms of raising her and starting my journey into motherhood at that moment. And I would say that there are many problems, in the postpartum space in this country, but the lack of paid guaranteed maternity leave is a major issue. When you think about the items in a welcome baby package, you realize that these are things that every baby needs, and they're costly. They add up to about $500. We are able to provide these to a family free of charge for only $160 in donations, because we are able to buy in bulk and reduce costs, et cetera. But when you think that families are reaching this point where they need these costly items to give their baby a healthy start to life, and at the same time, any income has likely stopped because so many people don't have any paid maternity leave. And there are no federal subsidies, as Sarah said, or state subsidies for any of these things. So if you're on WIC, if you're on SNAP, you can't use either of those programs to buy diapers or rash creams or thermometers or things that you really need. So, I would say one major policy issue is having paid maternity leave. I think that's not really a lot to ask.
And Sarah, do you see any difference in the different communities that you all have sent your welcome baby packages to? Like, is there a difference in what the needs of parents in the Bronx are versus the needs of a parent, say, in Evanston, Illinois, or, who may be living in Jacksonville, Florida? So as you move about the country or around the country, are there differences? Are you hearing from your parents that their needs differ based on their geographics?
That's such a great question. Thanks for asking that. So the beauty of the Welcome Baby Box is that we've kind of whittled it down to those core items that just any newborn needs, whether you are living in a city, if you're living in a sort of more rural area. These are the items that just any newborn needs, without any frills. Now, what we do see is that for folks who are bringing newborns home living in a city, our baby carrier is such a huge advantage and such a huge asset. So when you think about, a newborn and a newly postpartum woman who is trying to get her baby to their first doctor's appointment 3 days postpartum, 3 days after birth, we've heard from so many families that they had no idea how they were going to transport their baby. Would they have to carry them in their arms on the subway, on the bus, on the train? No. So these baby carriers are a huge asset. So we do see that, when you're living in more rural areas, obviously the need for things like car seats is huge. That's not something we provide just because of the bulk and the expense. But we do feel that these boxes are sort of the core items that any newborn needs.
And are you finding any differences, Sarah? Again, I know, so you're saying obviously there are some differences geographically, but what about different ethnic groups, different racial groups? Are you finding that, some of your minority families that you're providing these boxes to, are they expressing, I wish this box had X that may be different from some of your non-minority families?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we hear a lot that we wish that, people wish the boxes had even more, more diapers, more wipes, more rash creams. Oftentimes we'll hear that, a request for, things like formula, or even just different kinds of bottles. We forget that it takes a while to figure out what kind of bottle your baby, might be comfortable with. We only provide one kind. We're proud of that. But, obviously there's so many intricacies to bringing home a newborn baby. And so we try to provide everything that, a family might need, sort of in that kind of most basic category. But yeah, of course, we do hear that. We hear the need for more clothing. I'm trying to think. Those are the big ones, just more diapers, more wipes. We provide 200 diapers, but it's just, we wish we could provide double that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I am, again, just congratulations to both of you on, giving of yourselves as new moms, as busy moms, I can imagine that this has been, a labor of love for you, and you have blessed so many families because of these welcome baby boxes. I hope that your vision of growing your programs, providing more boxes to more families throughout the country, and expanding into some of these policy areas, that becomes very much a part of where your organization is over the next several years. Again, keep us posted. Anything we can do to get the word out there. Other organizations that you may want to connect with who obviously may have a need for these services. I know, as you said, the need is tremendously great. We're going to make sure that folks have access to your website if they want to support the work that you're doing, so that those new moms can definitely get all of those items they need to go home to ensure that their baby gets a good and healthy start. Again, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Juliet. The next voice that you hear will be Robin Ayers and the Raw Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't touch that dial.
Gotta stay fresh, ma. House shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your